Welcome to this week's broadcast with Dr. Nugent. If you have any questions regarding this program, please send an email to ccqa@manatech.com. Let's hear from Manatech's Global Wellness Director, Dr. Steve Nugent.
Hello, my friends. Dr. Steve Nugent here. We're going to continue our series on fitness-related products in this particular broadcast, and today it's BounceBack. Now, of course, you may remember from all of the fitness-related broadcasts previously that athletes are used to having products that are specifically for pre-workout, some that are specifically for the workout, and then some which are specifically for recovery. But Manatech products have so many benefits that really there's overlap in a lot of these. Now, BounceBack is your recovery product. There's no question about that. But it has other benefits as well. So you don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be into fitness to enjoy benefits from BounceBack. And I'll cover quite a few of them for you on this broadcast today. So we have talked about in my 3-point product training, which is not related to the 3-point plan business training. The 3-point the 3-point product training is called that because I put everything in threes. And of course, for recovery, you've seen me talk about sport and omega-3 and BounceBack. And we've explained some of that already. We're going to do more on omega-3 in a future broadcast. Well, BounceBack is designed to help you with muscle pain and soreness, which is typically associated with overexertion or increased physical activity, which is above your norm. Well, it does aid in the recovery process. There's no question about that, and that's one of the claims that we have with the product. And of course, you can see all the claims by going either to our marketing site on manatech.com or our science site on manatechscience.org, manatechscience.org. So, this product can help to provide optimal joint and cartilage support as well. That's pretty darn important. And there are also antioxidant benefits in this product. Well, of course, you know, I always talk about Manatech as the science company. In my opinion, we are the science company. I think for me, there's no question about it. I would challenge anyone at any other company to try and show them the level of science that we have at Manatech in terms of our research, our facilities, and so on. Well, 3 types of testing was done on BounceBack to find out if this product actually performs the way we had hoped it does. And of course, because it does, it became a product for you to consume. And there were a couple of tests which were very important in terms of pain thresholds. So how do you feel? And then we had one test about energy expenditure. And then there was another test which was actually done on blood markers that correlate to muscle damage. And all 3 of these tests told us that BounceBack is an extraordinary product for its purpose, certainly for recovery and certainly for muscle soreness for individuals who are not athletes. In fact, you'll find in our literature, it talks about this product as something for men or women and people who are above the age of 40, typically, because it is around the 40-ish mark, and it differs for everybody, but it's around the 40-ish mark that people start to feel a little more than the average aches and pains. And it also has to do with your lifestyle. This is something really important for weekend warriors, because if you're only active on the weekends, you are likely to feel pretty sore by Monday or even Tuesday, which is why they call it delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS. So, with this in mind, it has applications for muscle soreness and joint soreness as well, and of course the delayed pain that we just talked about. With this in mind, this product needs to be used, and I say this with a very, very strong emphasis, needs to be used as directed. Now, there are different kinds of people when it comes to reading product labels. Some people never read the label at all. Some people read the label to the point where they make themselves crazy with the fine print. Some people read the label correctly, just for usage, and then there are those that do various aspects of that in between. Well, in this case, you need to read it correctly. the primary function, not the only function. I'm going to go through all the ingredients one by one for you. But the primary function of functional ingredient in this is called proteolytic enzyme. Basically, essentially, a proteolytic enzyme is an enzyme that digests protein, hence the name. Well, this means it's going to want to digest protein where it finds it. If it finds protein in your stomach, it will digest it in your stomach. And that means it is pretty darn unlikely to enter your bloodstream. Well, unless it enters your bloodstream and becomes systemic enzyme, it is very unlikely to get you the benefits that we know you can receive from this product. So it is important that you take 2 capsules and that you take it with a full glass of water, and that you do this at least 45 minutes before or 2 hours after a meal, because we don't want these enzymes to digest your stomach contents. We want these enzymes to actually get into your bloodstream to become systemic. Now, our testing showed, and we didn't test for endless numbers of months, but our testing showed that optimal benefits are achieved around the 4-week to 6-week mark. It is possible, of course, that benefits may go longer than that, but those were our testing. That was the testing that we did at this point. All right, so let's talk about the functional ingredients, because, every product claims to be the best. It's like, OMG. You look up thousands of products. In fact, in the United States alone, just in the U.S., there are more than 88,000 products. All of them claim to be the best. Well, I like to use the analogy of sports teams. Obviously, there can only be one championship team. Just one can be number one. And when it comes to products, you have the same situation. They all can't be the best. That's ridiculous. So, let's talk about what this product is and why it is the best. Well, I'm going to start and go through this alphabetically. Now, you'll see something on there from avocado, and you'll see it says ASUs. Well, what they're talking about with the ASUs is something that includes sterols, as an example, and you'll find these ASUs also include fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E. And there's also, not just from avocado, but also from soybean oil, you have something called beta-sitosterol, stigmasterol, and campesterol, as well as carotenoids and vitamin A and E. And with this in mind, you say, well, what's that stuff? That sounds pretty big. Well, stigmasterol, beta-sitosterol, and campesterol, those are plant sterols, which have been researched and have a number of health-supporting benefits that I think are extremely important for you to be using every day. Also, of course, there's some avocado oil that has been sourced in this as well, and all of these are found under ASUs in BounceBack. Now, let's talk specifically about beta-sitosterol. And by the way, there are some commercials out there where we've got a famous football player, one that I used to enjoy, and he's retired now, a great football player in my opinion, but he mispronounces this word, so we've got a whole lot of people mispronouncing it now. It is beta-sitosterol. It is not beta-sitosterol, okay? So, beta-sitosterol. This is one of the plant sterols, and plant sterols are often abbreviated simply with the letters PS to make it simpler for you. And these are fats which are present in plants. Now, I know you thought there was no fat in plants. Well, these are important fats. These are good fats. These are fats that give you benefits. So it's not like saturated fat or fat hanging on meat, that kind of thing, okay? So you'll find that PS, phytosterols, are found in various plant oils, nuts, and seeds primarily, and that these are something that the human body has to obtain from diet. Your body needs them, but your body can't make them. And, of course, that includes the beta-sitosterol and the other two that I just mentioned. Now, right now, we know that, well, the average intake of plant sterols among North Americans is not very good. Now, Asians, in their Asian diet, they're getting around 400 milligrams a day of these plant sterols, and that's really, really, really good for your health. The average person in the Western world is getting around 78 milligrams a day. That's not very good. That's because we don't eat the traditional diet here in the West. We eat the modern diet, I should say. All right, let's move on to our next ingredient alphabetically, bromelain. Now, bromelain, you've probably seen it before on a lot of products, and you probably know it is a digestive enzyme from pineapple. And the reason it's in this product is not because this product is a digestive product, that's not what it's for, but because one of the important ingredients in this is something that is known from animal studies not to digest very well by itself, and that's turmeric. Now, turmeric provides us something called curcumin, and we'll get to that in a minute. So the bromelain is there to help you digest the turmeric because animal studies indicate that digestion's kind of iffy on that, at least in animals, okay? So campesterol, of course, is a plant sterol we've already talked about, and that can be found in many different foods. It can be found in soybeans, it can be found in peppers, actually, and in avocados and nuts. So it's pretty plentiful in a lot of foods, but how much of those foods do you typically eat in your daily diet? So moving down the list alphabetically, Japanese knotweed extract. What is it? You say, wow, that doesn't sound very appetizing. Well, it may not be. But Japanese knotweed is something that's been used in traditional Chinese medicine for thousands of years. And what we know now scientifically is that it's a source of an antioxidant, a very important antioxidant, called resveratrol. Now, you can also get resveratrol, of course, from red wine. That's what you hear about all the time. But we get it from Japanese knotweed. We can't exactly put red wine in this product, can we? And by the way, Japanese knotweed is probably the most common source of resveratrol in the dietary supplement industry today. Okay, so what's resveratrol, you might say? Well, it's found in different vines and some roots and seeds, but it's also found in grapes. It's found in the red grapes, or some people will say purple grapes. We refer to purple grapes in red wine. Well, red wine becomes red because the wine is actually stained, if you will, with the coloring from the peel of the purple grape. That's where the antioxidant is. It's in the peel of the purple grape. So, when you're having your red wine, as an example, you'll find that the average glass of red wine, and folks, that's not the 48-ounce glass of red wine, okay? So we're looking at about a 150 ml, or typically less than 8 ounces for Americans, and everybody else does mLs, of course. And you'll find that there's somewhere between 0.6 to 0.7 milligrams of resveratrol in your standard glass of red wine, which is good. That's a good thing, but we would like you to get a little bit more. So we know from animal studies at this point, and some limited human studies, it appears that resveratrol is absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract following its ingestion. So those of you who want to know, now you know. Now, we know that the efficiency of its absorption, as well as its distribution and metabolism and excretion, all of those factors are, well, they're not as well understood as we'd like to, but there are some pretty good studies that tell us that resveratrol is a very positive, healthy antioxidant. And that's one of the reasons that we wanted that in there for you. Protease. A protease, that is an enzyme that digests protein, and it may also be referred to as proteolytic. So with this in mind, you're looking at enzymes that are there to digest protein. Why is this important? Well, when you have soreness, when you have inflammation, when you're having aches, there are certain blood markers that a doctor will look for, and these include something called CPK. What they're looking for is to see if there is a buildup of proteins in your blood. Now, as the proteins build up, this increases inflammation and increases related pain to the inflammation. So what we want to do is that we want to systemically, that is to put the enzyme in your bloodstream so it's going throughout your system. We want to systemically get that protease or proteolytic to get to those proteins and digest them. Now, as they do this, it helps to reduce the inflammation and reduce the related pain with the inflammation. That's essentially how it works. All right, continuing alphabetically down our list, we'll go to stigmasterol. Now, stigmasterol, again, is a plant sterol, and interestingly, stigmasterol can be found in a lot of foods, and of course, as you might imagine, nuts and avocados, but it's also found in chocolate. Yep, that's right. And so if you're a chocoholic, that's not a good thing, but if you eat a little bit of chocolate now and then, well, you're getting a little bit of stigmasterol when you do it. Of course, stigmasterol is very abundant in vegetable oils because plant source is the primary source of it. Going down the list alphabetically once again, turmeric extract. Well, sometimes you'll see it listed as curcumin or curcuminoids, or curcumin oolonga is the official name for it, or turmeric extract, and people get all kinds of confused with all those names. Well, you use the turmeric because you want to supply the curcumin. And that is, again, something which, according to studies thus far, it's not very well absorbed. So we've added the bromelain, once again, as we start at the top of our list of ingredients, because the bromelain will help to digest the turmeric and therefore the curcumin, and that should be able to help you with the positive benefits of that as well. And by the way, in traditional Chinese medicine, as well as Indian medicine, I don't mean Native American, I mean India, okay, and that's called Ayurvedic medicine. In both of those very ancient disciplines, they talk about turmeric as a tonic. And in fact, you'll see in a lot of their literature that that stuff is being used in their ancient writings for almost everything because of all of the wide range of benefits that the ancient Indian and ancient Chinese physicians perceived in turmeric by itself. So it isn't just a spice or a food coloring. There are other benefits there as well. Antioxidant, and again, it's considered a general tonic in those two ancient medicine systems. Vitamin C is added as well because whenever you've got something going on with your joints, vitamin C is so important. I mean, just super important for this. So vitamin C has been added to this product for that reason. And let's get straight on something here. And this comes up all the time. You know, people love to have quick, simple, easy ways to answer questions and to think things through. But in biochemistry, things aren't always quite that easy. So we get people who have been saying that if it says ascorbic acid on the label, that means that, well, it's synthetic. Well, folks, that's not what it means. Natural vitamin C and synthetic vitamin C are both correctly referred to as ascorbic acid. Do not assume, because you see the word ascorbic, that is a synthetic. That is not always the case. So what do you do then? Well, you could see to look if a product is labeled as a real food technology. Certainly you could do that. But we have some products which are not real food technology, yet they do have food vitamin C. So, and of course, they'll say ascorbic acid on the label. That makes people think they're synthetic when they are not. So what you do is you look at the source. If it says it comes from acerola cherry or the Australian bush plum or camu camu or any kind of thing like that, then you know that it's come from a fruit, and then you know that it's not synthetic, that it is in fact real, honest-to-goodness vitamin C. Now, in the production of the material that makes your connective tissue, And, of course, for collagen and bones, you need vitamin C. And since this is a recovery product, then, it's vitamin C needs to be in there. Well, here's another one you see on the list. People see this and they go, oh my gosh, this sounds like an awful kind of thing. Ascorbyl palmitate. Ooh, what's that? Surely that must be some kind of a terrible chemical, right? Well, not really. Ascorbyl palmitate is an ester of vitamin C and palmitic acid combined. And folks, this is not something to be afraid of. This is something that is used in this product primarily as an antioxidant, and this is not some kind of nasty chemical that you should be worried about. Well, you may recall that in broadcast number 7, I did the whole broadcast I did on formulation ingredients. And I did that because very often people have misinformation that they've read on the internet, and whether you know it or not, there are no internet police. I just need to tell you that. So there's nobody that goes on the internet to make sure that what you see on the internet is actually true. So that's why I want you to listen to these broadcasts, because I'll give you the facts, and that's where you want to be. And so sometimes they read formulation ingredients and they go, oh gosh, this sounds awful. This will probably hurt me. Why does your product have it? Manitech does not use ingredients that'll hurt people. Folks, that's just foolish. Even if we weren't good scientists, even if we didn't have state-of-the-art research facilities, it would still be foolish. Just on a business principle, it would be foolish. So we don't do that. But answering the questions for you, number 7, I talked about magstearate, and so that's all answered there. I'm not going to go through a lot of that here. So let's go down the list again alphabetically. Why do we have formulation ingredients? Well, you need things like flow agents and lubricants and anti-clumping agents and that sort of thing. Otherwise, you can't get your mix of ingredients to be properly mixed together. And we want each tablet, capsule, or powder application to be standardized so that you're going to get what you need for your health in the same fashion every single time. So these things have to be used. So starting down the list, calcium silicate. And you say, oh gosh, what's that? It's a naturally occurring mineral, and we use it as an anti-caking agent. Again, we don't want various ingredients to cake up or lump up together. We want everything being mixed correctly and a nice flow with it. So we're using these different agents so that we have the same level of nutrition in every single capsule, tablet, etc. All right, we talked about magnesium stearate extensively on broadcast number 7, so I'm not going to go through that again. Just to very quickly say to you, I would like you to listen to number 7, obviously, but just to say to you again, not harmful. There is no scientific study. I don't care what you read on the internet. I don't care what doctor sent you an email. There is no objective scientific study that says that it's dangerous. In fact, I quoted for you specifically in number 7 the exact verbiage from the study that one particular marketer out there uses to say that magstearate is going to kill you. Well, he was not giving you the full correct information, whereas in number 7 of this series, I did. So you want to listen to that. Microcrystalline cellulose, or MC. Wow, what the heck is that? Well, it's a purified plant fiber. And I suppose if we simply said purified plant fiber, everybody would be happy because it wouldn't sound like some kind of chemical or that you're using. Well, it's there to help us as a binder for it, because after we get the ingredients to not all clump together, we now want certain ones to bind, right, and other ones not to. That's why we're using these various ingredients. And it also helps with disintegration of the tablet, so the tablet breaking down or the capsule breaking down in your system. And of course, you find this in BounceBack naturally, also in Catalyst, ManaCleanse, the Optimal Health Support Packets, Phytomatrix, and Plus. Silicon dioxide. Ooh, that sounds really bad. it's an anti-clumping agent, and I talked about that extensively in number 7. And silica is something that you'll find in many foods. It's in whole grains, as an example, oats and barley. You'll find it in sugar beets, in sugar cane, soybeans, turnips, green beans, so it's in lots of stuff. In fact, the average person is eating around 14 to 21 milligrams a day average of silica just in their diet. So don't be afraid of it. It's there to reduce clumping in the product, and it occurs naturally in foods, so don't be too concerned. You're also going to find it in 14 different Manitech products that all require this anti-clumping agent for them to be put together correctly. All right, soy protein isolate. Soy protein isolate is not whole soy. The word isolate should give you a clue to that, all right? Now, you're going to find that this is produced from dehulled and defatted soybean flakes, contains 90 to 95% protein, and is the purest form of this protein marketed right now from soybean. And it's more, the protein by volume, by percent, is higher in terms of cow's milk, in terms of its amino acid content, which is also very important. And it is sometimes used in meat products, dairy products, various other products, infant foods as an example, where they want to enhance the protein level of whatever is the product. And of course, the soy protein isolate you will find in BounceBack, Catalyst, GlycoSlim, and the chocolate and vanilla. And so this is something that you'll find in these products, and now you know the reason why, to get that extra protein in there. Vegetable cellulose. Well, vegetable cellulose is a natural compound which is found in the cell walls of plants. Again, nothing to be concerned about. And this is added to both tablets and capsules for a variety of different reasons, but it is frequently used as what's called a disintegration agent. In other words, to help it break down a little better in your digestion. So now we've talked about all of the ingredients, and we've talked about the benefits of BounceBack and what a great product it is. So can it be used for athletes? Absolutely. In fact, our scientific testing was done with athletes. We know that it works. Can it be done for weekend warriors or people who are just occasionally active? Can it help you with muscle soreness, joint soreness, and the pain related with these two things? Answer is yes, but it must be used as directed. When I travel, I keep it with me on my nightstand. Every hotel I go to, it comes out of my suitcase. The bottle goes on my nightstand with some water next to it. As soon as I wake up, the very first thing I do before I get out of bed is I take my BounceBack. And that's a good idea for you as well. So that's all we have on this particular broadcast on BounceBack. So until we speak again next week, I'm Dr. Steve Nugent, wishing you a very healthy, happy, and prosperous week.
Thank you, Dr. Nugent. All of Dr. Nugent's broadcasts are available at manitechlive.com under the Hear from the Doctors tab and listed by broadcast number and date with search capabilities by subject. As a reminder to our listeners, if you have any questions regarding this program, please send an email to ccqa@manitech.com.